Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines, but most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And what do I mean by that, though? I mean, I only speak with transportation professionals, you guys, because at the end of the day, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take all of this information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. And today's guest is none other than somebody out there who has an insane amount of experience out there in a certain sector of the industry. And, you know, as I mentioned a couple weeks back, you guys, we're kind of shifting the focus of this show, or not kind of, we are, to be more topic oriented as a whole, as opposed to just breaking down a few headlines here and there and talking shit. Although the shit talking will continue. Don't worry about that. But we're going to be more kind of hyper focused out there, you guys, because there are very real decisions that people make inside of their companies every single day. And buying and selling equipment is on top of mind for every single one of my driver friends that are out there, carriers, as well as brokers too. I know a large group of brokers that are buying trailers now and doing a bunch of stuff. So with that being said, I got my man, James Currier, back on the show. James, what's going on, brother? How are you?
Jolly pleasure to be here as always. I appreciate you having me on.
No, man, I love having you on. You're a strapping Canadian. You're a good friend of mine. And, you know, I like it because of, you know, the company that you work for. You guys are private, right? So like you guys are out there kind of, you guys look at things a little bit differently. And, you know, you've been on the show a few times now, and you've given a lot of great insight on the decisions on why you guys make it your way as opposed to some other lenders. And, you know, there's just so much stuff that's kind of going on out there. But like, what's new in your world, man? How's everything been going?
My world is humming along nicely. Being in the lending space, you know, things are always very cyclical, particularly in transportation. All I do is trucking, and you know, when you do it long enough, you understand that things are going to go up and down. And left and right sometimes, and that's the state that we're in right now. I don't think that's a secret to anyone. So, you know, we just keep humming along and serving our clients as best we can. And, you know, sometimes that's writing 100% new business. Sometimes that's doing a lot of refis. It's all over the map.
Yeah. It's, you know, I think financing from a business perspective is, you know, it's a whole new ball game. And I know like we've covered this in the past, but I kind of want to bring back to that because I think that, you know, I've been talking a lot about how, you know, at the midway point in the year, and I know we're a little over that, you need to be constantly looking at your P&L, right? Like you need to be constantly looking at where's your money going, what monies are coming in, and you got to be balancing out because running a business is vastly different than most people understand. And it's not just take a course online and all of a sudden you're a millionaire in trucking. And there's very real decisions that you have to make out there. And especially when you're buying equipment for the very first time. And, you know, I got kind of, I don't want to say schooled on this, but I was enlightened about this when I went and bought a truck, a pickup truck for my business, right? Because my CPA was like, hey man, we should take advantage of this tax credit that's going away, buy a new vehicle. This was in 2023, but they're like, buy a new vehicle. And we do that. So I went in there, you know, we bought from this dealership here in the Phoenix Metro, Henry Brown out in Gilbert, Arizona, if anybody's wondering. And, I went in there and I was like, oh, it's going to be for my business. They're like, all right, cool. So we got everything done. And they're like, hey man, you got to have a personal guarantee on this loan. I'm like, can I ask why? And I'm like, I've been in business now for like 4 years. Like I have contracts, I have revenue, I have all of this stuff. They're like, yeah, but it's a different style of loan. And especially if it's your first loan, we have like, you're a brand new person, essentially. It doesn't matter. You have good credit. It doesn't matter any of that stuff. You're a high risk still because of that. So they're like, you have to be a personal guarantee on this loan. So I'm like, all right, well, here we go. So
And nothing about that is unusual.
yeah, no,
So
I mean,
we ask for personal guarantees from some folks and don't from others. It all depends on the credit quality, how long you've been around, and a variety of other factors. Some companies have no problem doing it. What I find is that the smaller owner operators and small fleets tend to be a little taken aback or shocked with us or anyone else asking for a personal guarantee. It's not the large fleets or the medium-sized fleets, the 500 plus fleets that even bat an eye at personal guarantees often. It's the people who are not used to writing this type of business.
yeah, it's again, I think that you live and you learn on a lot of this stuff, but it's going to be a very Star Steve Secka says, great shave, great beard, and all. Let's talk.
Thanks,
Oh,
Steve.
that threw me off. But no, man, I think that as you're going in there, this is what people need to be prepared for, right? Because I don't know who's out there telling people when you're new in business that you don't need to have a personal guarantee. And I think because like I've seen it out there on some YouTube videos about like, oh, just open a LLC and then open a small business credit card, and then do that. And I'm like, yeah, but you still have to have a personal guarantee. Like full transparency, my personal credit score is in the 800s. Okay. And even
Terrific.
I had to do a personal guarantee for my first business credit card.
Mhm.
My second business credit card, same situation. My first business loan that I took out for my truck, personal guarantee on top of that. Because again, I don't understand. I don't think a lot of people understand the amount of risk that is out there when you're going into business. Just because I'm not advocating for failure for anybody, but like the numbers are the numbers when it comes down to startups failing within the first couple of years. Like it's an alarmingly high rate.
It is absolutely, and to your point, there is a misconception in the marketplace, particularly, and maybe not particularly, but from my experience in the trucking world, there's this misconception that people should have loans given to them next day, regardless of what they fill out. And so, if we get a credit application and a single tax return, it takes some time to actually do the due diligence on that and decide whether or not this person gets a loan or this business gets a loan, and what kind of terms and conditions go along with that loan. Ultimately, when we're holding 100% of the risk, often we have to ask for 10% down or escalated payments for the first year, whatever that might look like. These are not unusual things, and it's not unusual for institutions of any kind to take 2 or 3 days to make those decisions, particularly when you get above $500,000. The institution should do its due diligence, and what you're going to see is more questions asked from all institutions across the board, given the number of delinquencies and over 90-day payment receivables right now. Institutions are going to start asking more questions. This is a typical practice that all institutions should follow. The idea that anyone should be lending out $500,000 or $1 million on app-only credits is, in my opinion, ridiculous.
How much does the current freight market have to play into the decisions you guys make? So, again, say I've been a driver for 15 years now. I'm like, you know what, man, I'm sick and tired of working for somebody. I want to go out. I want to get my own truck, my own trailer. I want to start doing this for Chris Jolly Trucking. I don't have any
Immediate
customers.
decline if it's called Chris Jolly Trucking.
I don't blame you for that. But I go out there, say I got everything in line, man. I got my business structured properly, but I'm coming to you. I'm like, James, hey, I want to buy this truck and I want to buy this trailer. How do I best prepare for that first interaction with you? Do I have all my personal finances up to date for you? Should I be expecting a like, and again, take this however, kind of you want with it in the direction is my personal credit, the amount of money I can put down. What are some of those big factors that I should be aware of before I even walk in?
So from a corporate perspective, financials are always helpful. If you don't have financials, tax returns from the company and personally are both requested every time, particularly for small businesses and owner operators. Credit application, tax returns, and the type of business that you're going after. So to your question initially, does the freight market have any impact on what we're doing? Absolutely, it does. And it does with every lender, regardless of whether you're an independent or major bank. The freight market, and it's an indicator of what we're seeing right now with a lot of the larger lenders exiting the market and squashing a lot of lines of credit for these trucking companies. It's been happening for 14 to 16 months now. The reason why they're doing that is because of the freight market. So when we're lending against trucks and trailers, we are absolutely factoring in what is going on in the market right now and where you're driving your business. So if you look at the average spot rate for a drive-in in the US, hovering right over $2 a mile, we know that your cost is roughly $2 a mile at best. As an owner operator, probably well above that.
Mm-hmm.
So our biggest question is, where are you getting your business? And if it's on the spot market, how are you making those payments?
Mm-hmm.
So, you actually have to do some convincing.
So what does the rest of this year look like, man? Because I don't, nobody knows when anything's going to change or get better or anything like that. It's all educated guess. It's all, it's a lot of shot in the dark style talk that's out there. Cause I see a lot of headlines out there like, oh, are we in the recovery? I don't feel it. Again, take it for what it's worth. I'm in a startup phase, but we're actively calling shippers every single day. We're bidding on freight every single day. I haven't personally noticed a bump in anything on the areas that I'm working in. I've said it, in the past, and I'll say it again. I think the recovery, and I'll use air quotes on that, it's going to be a slow and gradual increase, man. And I think that, November here in the States has a lot hanging on it from where things are going to possibly go. So how are you guys looking at things right now? So again, say besides Chris Jolly getting, instantly declined for Chris Jolly Trucking being the name, but, for those serious buyers that are out there, how are you guys assessing what things look like for the next, 4 months of 2024 here?
Well, being a smaller institution allows us to be a lot more flexible and agile than most, I would think. We don't have 5 million shareholders that we need to report to every quarter. So it does allow us, and we do have a smaller team than any major bank, a lot more flexibility and agileness in order to switch gears potentially when things do turn down or turn up. My crystal ball is just as broken as yours. So that necessitates us being fast on the market, and it's freight. Everyone has to be fast all of the time. What we saw in 22 and 23 with the rise and then fall of equipment prices, you have to be on it.
Yeah.
And that's no different with interest rates loaned against trailers. The reality right now is that I would think rates have to come down in the US. They've started to come down in Canada. We've had two decreases in Canada. I think the US is going to follow suit and start to decrease. Given all of the inflation numbers and the cost of goods, the reality is that people are getting squeezed, and when people are getting squeezed in the general retail space, the freight doesn't move.
Yeah.
We need freight to start moving, and in order for freight to start moving, interest rates need to come down, new home builds need to go up drastically, and things need to start to balance out. If this is what recovery looks like, then we're in deep trouble for the next 6 months. That being said, I don't think we're in the midst of a recovery at the moment. Everything has flatlined,
Yeah.
and somebody needs to get the paddles out and actually start jump starting some economic indicators.
Yeah, I mean, because it's like I look at it, and again, I'm not an economist or anything like that. I mean, obviously, and I did go to public school, so I like to throw those caveats out there. I don't know if a rate reduction for the interest rates out there is going to open the floodgates of anything, because it's not like they're going to go from where it's at and then cut that shit in half, right? Like, it's not going to be anything to where people are going to all of a sudden open up their wallets, because another factor out there is credit card like balances are at an all-time high here in the United States. Delinquencies are at an all-time high. Auto loans are starting to rise on delinquencies as well. So it's like, even, yes, I'm not saying that I don't want them to, do their job and improve shit, but like, the reality is I don't think and it's, again, it's another thing that I don't think it's going to be a cataclysmic rise where it's like, oh, boom, we're back in this perfect utopia. People are spending all this money again. We're in a shit pile of problems here. Like,
Yeah,
if you
absolutely.
grand
And
economic scale.
ideally, this is exactly what a soft landing looks like. Is it flatlines for several months, and then you start to build it back. And in my honest and very humble public school education based opinion, I think that that's probably what the Democrats were aiming for all along. If this is the absolute bottom of what a soft landing looks like, then thankfully most people are coming away fairly unscathed. This is not a Great Depression or even a drastic recession. This is if it is the bottom, it's a fairly soft landing, all things considered, and then you start building it back up. It's when you see a cataclysmic rise again is when things start to go sideways very quickly. The economy should be boring. This
Yeah.
is what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah. No, I'm right there. I'm right there with you in the sense of, like, again, I always look at it like, man, no, you can't control what's going on in Montreal. I can't control what's going on in DC, or Quebec, excuse me. Like, we can't.
Ottawa.
Ottawa, close. Yeah, whatever. You guys are all the same up there, right?
Great. That's a good soundbite.
But no, it's one of those things, man, where we can't control any of that stuff, but there's a lot that we can control, right? And I think that that's where a lot of people need to go in and assess where the market is right now and where it's going to be trending here. I mean, Steve brings up a good point about this, that Canadian Pacific is, that the strike, for in Canada as of August 22nd at midnight, which will affect the over the road network if action occurs. And that's unprecedented out there. And so again, there's a lot of stuff that could be happening, right? Like, there's threats for port strikes here and on the East Coast as well. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that could be happening. But again, like, I think, like, ultimately the overwhelming majority of us who are in that small business, and I don't know what the Canada trucking breakdown looks like, but here in the States, like 90% of the trucking market is controlled by small business, right? So again, it's like we don't have the purchasing power or the buying power. And again, I think, like, we really got to focus on how do we make our business financially stronger during these times, right? And is that a debt consolidation, right? Do I have multiple lenders out there? Did I buy my trailer from these guys? Did I buy my trucks from these guys? Do I have multiple whatever? Do I look into consolidating that down? Do I look at, maybe I downgrade my office space, for example. Maybe I shot for the moon and thought that I was going to need all this space and I don't. And, again, I think, like, those are those things that you need to be looking at right now. You need to be looking at, how do I strengthen my balance sheet more than anything, I personally think, because, like, all of this is pie in the sky stuff, man. We don't know what's going to happen. I don't think there's a bunch of educated guesses out there, but, like, is that going to pay my bills? No, it's not. What can I do to make it happen, though?
If you talk to 10 economists, the reality is that you're probably going to get 10 different answers on what the economy looks like today and what it's going to look like a month from now. I don't know too many economists who are ever unemployed and looking for jobs. And so take their opinion with a grain of salt. They're very smart people, but somewhat removed from the actual dirty fingers part of what we do.
Yeah.
So, again, my crystal ball is just as smeared and smudged as yours.
Mhm.
I would like to hope that we're at the bottom and coming out of this. But like you said, there's a lot of opportunity for pulling out equity on equipment and injecting cash into a business. It's a lot of what we're doing right now. And ultimately, if the cash is there for you to take it out of your equipment and hold on your balance sheet, that allows you to remain in a good position, particularly with your primary lenders, and maintain your cash position with them. Whatever that might look like as a business decision for you in particular, we can help you get there, and so can all of the other institutions. We're not unique in that.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that we're a little more proactive in it, though.
Let me ask you this, James. And again, if this is, because I just thought about this. So say my truck has, $30,000 in equity in it
Mhm.
for hypothetical example, and I have a high interest loan on my trailer that just happens to be for $30,000.
Mhm.
Is there a way that I could pull the equity out of my truck to pay that trailer off and then refinance it all through? Like how would that look?
Borrow from Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah, in order to reduce your interest rate, there's always a way around it. Sure.
Okay. So that is a possibility. Like if you have equity in there, because like
Yeah.
I know I have a lot of friends who own companies, and they were talking about that, how like they had equity in one piece of equipment inside of their office. This wasn't a trucking thing. And then they had a piece that wasn't being used, but like they still had a loan on it. So
Mhm.
they were able to, essentially pull equity out of one thing to pay that off and then spread that debt out over a couple of years, and stuff like that. So I think like, I'm just trying to think of like, how can people get creative here to stay in business? And would you even think of that if you weren't in that situation?
Well, a lot of people are thinking about it right now, and the ones with clever accountants are reaching out to us. A lot of what I've done over the last 6 to 9 weeks is exactly that, helping people find equity in their equipment, refinancing and underwriting to find the equity, put a cash injection into the company, or refinance another piece of equipment in order to buy new equipment. Um, it is all over the map. I mean, it takes sitting down and looking at what you've got in your fleet and understanding where you want your business to be a year from now. If you want your business to be exactly where it is today, keep doing what you're doing, make smart decisions. If you want to continue growing, then it may take some more creative juice behind the effort.
Do you think, and this might be a personal, opinion style question for you here, man. Do you think it's better for smaller businesses to work with multiple financial institutions early on, or is it plant my flag with somebody early and build up with them so I could work with James over time and then I could maybe expedite my purchasing power, right? Because again, we were talking about personal guarantees to start
Mhm.
the show. Or do you look at just the business's financial history before you would make a decision on something like that?
I
There
so
might be 2 questions there too, so
There are multiple, and there are multiple factors that you need to consider when making those lending
Mhm.
decisions. Um, what I find most prevalent is that when you're a small business and trying to grow your fleet in the trucking space, most often you have several lenders. And then often what will happen is as you continue to grow, you need to find a lender that will continue to grow with you. Ultimately, most lenders tap out at certain spots, and if you have a growing trucking company, you found a few profitable contracts early on, then you need an institution that will help you grow with that business growth, and that often means finding new partners. So It all boils down to what you want to do with your business. If all you want ever is a 5 truck, 10 trailer company with a few owner operators and you driving in the seat from time to time, then one lender may be able to get you there for the rest of your life. Whereas if you've got 5 trucks and 10 trailers now and want to have 500 and 1,000 4 years from now, you're going to likely need multiple lenders and institutions that will continue to grow with you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is probably the first question that a lot of people need to ask is, when you're going out and starting, what direction do you want to go with it, or because I think like, everybody goes into business thinking that they're going to be the best and the biggest and they're going to grow the fastest and everything else, right? At least that's what I thought, right? But I also look at it, the further and further along I get, I'm like, hey, however big we get is kind of, I don't want to say it's out of my control, but like my goal is to always just be known as the best provider out there, the best transportation company. That's like, however that looks. But I think that some people need to understand that it's completely okay, right? Like for all of those people that are out there that are like, hey, I just want to be an owner op. I just kind of want to do my thing, man. Or if
Nothing
you're
wrong with
starting,
that.
yeah, or if you're starting a brokerage and you're like, hey, I just want to build a business where I can personally make $150,000 a year. I think that there's a lot of power in that. I think a lot of people, and I'm lumping myself in there. I wasted a lot of time thinking that I wanted something that I don't know if I actually truly do, because I thought it was the right thing to say. And I think going in there and knowing like, hey, James, I want to buy this. Yeah, it's just me right now, but I want to get up to 5 trucks and 10 trailers one day. I don't know if I want to get any bigger than that. Maybe by the time I get there, we can reassess it. But I think like right now, this is as big as I want to go. I think there's a lot of power in that. I think you're going to save yourself
100%.
a lot of stress long term if you just go in there and you're just like, hey, you know what? This is as really as I just want to build it up to where I can live a comfortable life and enjoy some stuff.
One of the things that happens early and often when I'm meeting with new folks is sitting down and taking a look at their strategy and what they want to do over time with their trucking companies, particularly when they're small and say under 5-10 years old. If you sit there and tell me that you want to be the biggest and the best, my first question for you is the biggest and the best at what? There's a lot of space out there in the trucking world that is outside of regular dry van loads. So, the biggest and the best at what is a really solid question and a good starting point. Have a strategy, sit down, be intentional with what you want to do and where you want to go. Nothing wrong with being an owner operator. Nothing wrong with wanting 500 trucks and 1,000 trailers. I can help you get to either one of those, but we have to be intentional about it.
Yeah, no, I think that saves a lot of headaches, and especially early on, right? I think like, if I could go back, at all, I would mainly want to focus on, all right, how do I raise my business acumen right away, and how do I focus on just building a quality company as opposed to I'm just going to be better than everybody else, fuck everyone else. I think that there's a lot of strategy that you can go and apply early on, really know what you want to go after, because again, like inside of my brokerage, for example, and I know we're almost out of time, so we'll kind of wrap up. Like we primarily just do full truckload, right? Like 99% of the freight that we do is full truckload. Can I do other stuff? I mean, yeah, but like that's not really my bread and butter right now. In one day, in due time, I thought that, when I first started, we were going to do everything and be the best at everything, yada, 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 choose a niche, this and that, and then grow. But I'm also like, now I'm like, I don't know, man. I kind of just want to get my business to a path of profitability, and then we'll just assess it at certain stages. So
profitability is important, and everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? So
no, that's exactly
a lot of people are getting punched in the mouth right now and have to come up with different strategies and plans going forward. So talk to your lenders, talk to your network, talk to your friends, sit down with folks like me and come up with a strategy and move from there.
I love it. James, as always, man, thank you so much for jumping on and
I
and
appreciate you
talking about
having me,
this.
Jolly.
And
Thank you.
as the year progresses, we'll have you come back on and continue to talk about this because this stuff could literally change at the, at any second here. But how does anybody reach out to you, James, to find out more?
Reach out on LinkedIn or james.currier@finlock.com anytime. Always happy to chat.
Perfect. And if for some reason you guys can't find James, just hit me up. I'll gladly put you guys in direct contact with him. But that's going to be it for today, you guys. We got guests coming on throughout the week, and we're going to continue to talk about how are we going to navigate through this by people who are actually making those decisions and doing that work every single day. As always, if you guys got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show, you guys. Share it out there to your network, because if you see value, your network's going to see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.